Hello everyone, this is Ronnie. I wanted to talk to you about something like people often ask, or sometimes ask, and a few comments I got recently about where's the science on this, and people want the science. And so I need to get some good light here. So the things recently I was mentioning about a low sodium diet and a low protein diet, and people want the science behind um, how you can live on a low protein diet or whatever. And all these things are fine. But I always think that when people are looking for the science, they're not being honest, you know. They're not being truly honest with their actual search for truth. It's nothing to do with science. Because there's no science. There was they didn't base the diet they've been living on their whole life on science. You guys aren't eating junk food and all processed food and all this stuff because science told you to, you know. And it doesn't really matter that the standard diet we know for sure causes disease. That's what the science says. We know for sure that a starch based or a grain based diet has led in many populations to severe deficiencies. It doesn't matter that those things are absolutely historically scientifically true. People want to know what's the science behind eating the raw food diet. So that thing that every single living life form on the planet does, eat its food without cooking or processing it, they want the science behind why that's appropriate for human beings. And they want to break it down into all the individual nutrients and figure out how come you're not getting enough of that and what are you getting this for and that and this and this. And there is science behind these things. It's just it's just not genuine. That's why I don't like some of these questions. As if, well, I would change to that diet, I would consider that, but I need to see the science behind it. Bullshit, because you've not got any science behind what you're doing right now. You know, in fact, the science goes against what you're doing right now. In terms of what the scientifically healthy diet is that's recommended by a number of governments around the world, whether we can fully believe this or not, it is a plant-based diet. That's what's recommended. A high carbohydrate plant-based diet. A relatively high raw diet, actually. Because fruits and vegetables always make up a big chunk. If you look at these healthy eating plates, they make up a big chunk. Maybe 30%, maybe 40%, depending on the one you look at. Now, no one's doing that. No one's coming anywhere close to that. So the idea that there's this scientific diet that everyone's following is obviously silly. Um, but it usually shows 30 to 40% fruits and vegetables, 30 to 40% starches, whole grains, whole starches, whole foods, and then it shows a smaller section for protein foods, but recommends the plant-based protein foods over meat. And then there's usually a section for dairy, and maybe there's a section for oil and things like that. And usually sugar is recommended to be restricted, salt is recommended to be restricted, meat is recommended to be restricted. Sometimes it might say fish a couple of times a week, but it doesn't really say meat. Basically says don't eat meat, please. It's really terrible for your health. Milk, the Canadian version just took dairy out, just said there's no reason that anyone should be consuming disease causing dairy. So they just threw that out. But other countries still have a little bit of dairy in there, but say please have the low fat option. Please don't kill yourself. Please try not to just totally kill your arteries. Um, you know, but you do kill your arteries with the low fat stuff as well, but probably not as quickly. So there's it's no one's really following science. Like when people ask me about my diet. They want me to have science. But no one else has science. No one bothered, no one's even checked into what their diet's all about, what it causes, what happens to them, you know. So where's the science behind not consuming salt? Because elephants go out once a year to the salt mines. Really? Where do you see that? Some TV program? You don't think they like to spin things and show you things and pretend things are the case? Oh, the chimpanzees, they're always murdering other chimpanzees and they eat their meat. You think that happens all the time? Maybe it happens once a year, maybe once every couple of years. Maybe it only happens because the food supplies run low. Hey, maybe they decide to film the chimpanzees in areas that they don't have a lot of food so that they have these wild behaviours. Because they want to present a certain thing to the public. Because it's more exciting to see that. And also it makes us feel like, oh, that's kind of like us. We kill things and eat them. That's like us, you know, or whatever. The science behind low salt diets. It's not even a low salt diet, but anyway. Or the science behind the low protein diet, or the science behind how can you just eat fruit, and the science behind all this. Well, there is science that's been done on the raw food diet. What I find interesting, I was at one of the presentations at the Austria Fruit Fest was about B12 deficiency in the raw vegan diet, and I had to point out to the presenter that there had been a study on raw vegans when it came to B12. They were unaware of that. So I've looked at basically all the studies that have been done on raw vegans, or supposedly raw vegans. And what a lot of you are saying is you'd prefer to listen to that person, scientist, who gathered together a few people who are supposedly raw, although even in the explanation, I'm like, well, these people aren't raw vegan. Why are they saying some of the studies says 50% of them still eat meat, 75% still eat cooked food. I'm like, but then in the conclusion of the study it says raw vegans. Well, we don't recommend a raw vegan diet. But you've just told me they're not vegan. Most of them aren't raw. How can you make that assessment? Raw vegans are underweight. Well, most of those people weren't raw vegans, so how do you make that judgment? But some of you guys would prefer to see that, the study, the science. It's very biased when you read these studies, because they use that phrase, raw vegan or raw food, and the people aren't even raw foodists, you know. So it's very strange. I'm not, obviously, your own observation is not as good as science, right? So I can't say, well, I've been in this raw food movement for 9 or 10 years, and I've been around and met a lot of people, and these are the conclusions that I've reached. But I've also been studying this stuff for that long and reading about it and watching a lot of videos and looking at studies and things like that. And I've not catalogued every single piece of research I've looked at. I'll be honest, I haven't done that, you know. So when I say, well, you don't need as much protein as what's recommended in the recommended daily allowance, people say, well, where's the science behind that? Well, I've kind of been doing that for 10 years, but and I know other people that are on very low protein diets and they have absolutely no issues whatsoever. So I don't need the science anymore. But I understand some of you need the science, but it won't make a difference to you. Like, so I hate this idea that, well, when I see the science, that's when I will believe you. That's when I will change. No, that's not true. You know? Some of these things you just have to figure out for yourself. You have to experience it for yourself. Certainly a high protein diet is a disaster. And I was in a debate with someone, they were saying, well, an athlete needs a higher amount of protein. No, an athlete needs more calories, which equals more protein. but they don't need more protein as a proportion of their diet. They need more calories in general to fuel the extra exercise, and that will give them sufficient protein. As long as you're eating sufficient calories on a whole food plant-based diet, you'll be getting sufficient protein, and that includes eating fruit. And there's much worse risk of eating too much protein than eating too little protein. Protein deficiency doesn't exist. It's not something that's clinically, recognized. There's not a name for it. It's never seen in any culture, in any diet. It was mistakenly connected with kwashiorkor and a few different, and something else, marasmus, which are just diseases of malnutrition, of lack of calories over a long period of time. So, protein deficiency. These are things I've not worried about, but I don't know. I mean, I've actually got a thing called the Science of the Raw Vegan Diet, in which I put together all those studies. You can get it along with my book if you want to go check out my book. But also, what else am I trying to talk about? Yeah. But yeah, I guess that's what people need. They pretend to need the science, and I just find it fascinating that people are so unhealthy, so sick, eating such a poor diet, and then they're like, where's the science behind this? Really? Really? You really think you need science? You need a brain transfusion, a brain, what's it called? A brain transplant or something. You need to really analyze what is your own motivation behind asking these questions. Well, I'll consider this raw food diet once I've analyzed the science. Bullshit. It's nothing to do with that. You're addicted to your poor diet. You're addicted to your bad behaviors. You're addicted to things that are hurting you and harming you, and that's the only reason that you're not able to do a raw food diet. It's the only reason. And the science will not change anything. It's good for people. You can bash people around the head with science all day long. They'll still, firstly, they won't believe you, because as soon as you produce the science, it then becomes, science can be manipulated. So what's the point even in showing you the science? Where did that science come from? Who funded it? But I saw there's another study where someone else said something else. It's like, well, yeah, but there's 600 studies saying the things that I'm saying. Yeah, but there's one study from the University of Azerbaijan saying that meat's good for you. Well, that might be because of a number of reasons, but anyway. It's funny though, because people really do flood towards, the science, right? So nutritionfacts.org, despite the fact that, I don't know, like a lot of his information is weird. Like he never barely talks about fruit, barely talks about talks about mushrooms and nuts and things like that. And all that's like, a lot of that nut science is like bogus science made by the nut industry. It's like nuts are good for you. But not really, and say like Mick the vegan gains. There's a bunch of channels that they're all science, like they post loads of scientific links to try and beat you down with their nonsense. Cooked food's good for you, raw food's bad, blah, science. I mean, it's all bullshit. It's all nonsense. Oh, the raw food diet's bad because of a scientific article that said. You need to get beyond this. You just have to use your common sense. You don't even need science. This is the thing about this. You really don't need science. Common sense, instinct. Pandas, what do they eat? Raw food diet. Raw vegans, I think. Raw vegan diet. Where are they getting B12? Where's the science behind that? Where are they getting their B12? Oh no, we're all gonna die. Where are they getting their magnesium? Oh my god, where do they get their omega 6, their omega 3, ALA, EPA, DHA? Where do they get all that? We need to go to nutritionfacts.org or Mick the Vegan or Vegan Gains or some scientific person that will show us a study that tells us, that will make us all feel good about ourselves, you know. Um, there isn't a scientific consensus about the vegan diet being the best diet or anything anyway, so you're not really going to win with science. Um, but animals eat raw food. Like, what? How can it not be as simple as that? And then analyze your own instincts. Go to a field of grains. Can you eat that? No. No. Can't eat grains. What about potatoes? Totally toxic plant. Like, how? It's bizarre that we even managed to eat them, find a way of eating them. Um, Animals, of course, we don't have any carnivorous instincts. That's obvious. For all you carnivores, how can you not see that? It's so obvious. Like, you look at animals, you don't want to eat them. Look at a dead animal's corpse. It's disgusting. Um, so we're obviously frugivores, fruit eaters. And this is how clear-minded you have to get about this stuff. So, in saying that, if you want more scientific videos, if that's what people need, if that's what impresses people, then we can do that. You know, it's funny, I've watched Doug Graham talk for years, Dr. Doug Graham. I've barely seen him mention a scientific study. or he mentions things from textbooks and stuff, but he does, because a lot of the information is like basic. It's textbook information. It's not questioned anymore. When you cook food, you destroy nutrients and all that. It's just textbook information. It's not like questioned. So yeah, if you want more science, I don't know. There's a few things that I'm confused by. I don't know how people can be in a raw vegan diet. Their B12 is way lower than supposedly way lower than what it should be, but they have no signs of B12 deficiency. You know, I don't understand that. I don't know why that is. I don't know why people tell me there is no way you can get B12 in a raw vegan diet, but I've not supplemented for 9 years. Like, so is it just that I had a massive store from my previous diet in my liver and it's still going? Is that it? Maybe it is. Maybe that is it. Maybe I'm gonna run out soon. Or is it that you swallow B12 because you've got bacteria in your mouth and your nose? Kind of what Doug Graham would say, and then other people say, well, you can produce B12 in your body, but it's too low down in the gut, you can't absorb it because it needs to be in the stomach, right? Okay, so it must be higher up then. So I guess there is some mysteries. It'd be good to do. I would like to actually do the scientific studies. No, like, let's stop thinking about, let's look at the science. Let's do the science. Let's do the science. Because a lot of the science is like observational studies, surveys with people. What did you think about this diet? Oh, I liked it. 25% of people like the raw vegan diet. 75% don't like it. Therefore, you shouldn't do it. Like, this is the level that some of it is at. It's not like high level blood marker, you know, isotopes going in the bloodstream and measuring things or whatever. It's like, I don't know if isotopes go in the bloodstream. I'm just making stuff up. But like, just, what am I trying to say? I don't even know. I just think we need to do the science. Like, at the UK Fruit Fest, we'll, if people are up for it, we'll do your whatever blood pressure before, blood pressure after, weight before, weight after, blood sugar maybe take the diabetics, let them do their own blood sugar, before, after. That's science, right? Now, is it the highest level of science? I don't know, but it's like it's good. It's the best we've got, I guess. Anyway, thank you for watching the channel again. Check out the book if you like down below, and see you in the next video. Please feel free to leave more comments.